We start with the launch of the Obama campaign yesterday, and it has started. Jennifer Granholm is the former governor of Michigan. She's now an NBC contributor and the author of a brand new book, A Governor's Story, The Fight for Jobs and America's Economic Future. And Bob Shrum's a Democratic strategist. Bob, thank you for coming on. I want you to listen to this particularly, Bob Shrum. Clinton strategist Mark Penn, who worked for the Clintons, says Obama's new tone won't work. He writes in the Huffington Post, quote, Barack Obama is careening down the wrong path towards re-election. He should be claiming the vital center, not abandoning it. He should be holding down taxes rather than raising them. He should be bringing the country together rather than dividing it through class warfare. That's Mark Penn. He's critiquing the president's new move to divide the country between those who want fair taxes and those who are rich who don't. Your thoughts, Bob Shrum?
Well, you know, that's Marcus saying this kind of stuff all the time. Two reactions to it. First, it was a remarkably fact-free and numbers-free piece from a guy who's supposed to be a pollster. He says, for example, that Gore lost. I actually think he won, but that Gore lost because he was too populist. He talked about the people, not the powerful. In fact, during the period when he was really doing that, culminating in that acceptance speech, you remember, Chris, he gained about 12 to 18 points. So, you know, you got to look at the facts here. Secondly, I think the president is on the right side here. He recognizes that there has been 10 years of class warfare in this country. It's been class warfare against the middle class warfare against working families, class warfare against ordinary, hardworking people. He's on the right side of the issue here. And if you look at any poll, which is maybe why Mark didn't mention any of the polls, people support him on Medicare, they support him on Social Security, they support him on the wealthy paying their fair share. One last thing, you know, when Hillary Clinton was deciding to concede in 2008, Mark Penn told her, don't concede. There's no way Barack Obama can win the general election. So I suspect the White House takes his advice with a mountain of salt.
Bob, good point at the last. Little coup de grace there from Bob Shrum as we finish off Mark Penn. I'm sure we'll have Penn on the respond, but this is the fundamental question. The president's answered the question, Governor. He wants to fight this election. He wants to take it to the people. The Republicans say nobody gets their taxes raised. The unfair tax system we have now is going to stay in place. Obama says no. Why should the secretary pay a higher rate than the boss?
All right, game on. I mean, if elections are about who's on your side and who's not, Obama is on the people's side. Bring it on. We went through phase one of this whole exercise. He was the reasonable guy. He put compromise on the table. They didn't take him up on it. Not only did that, they fought him every step of the way. So come out, take off the gloves, and let's go swing.
I don't know. You're in politics. I've never run for statewide office. Why do Republicans, I'll get back to this. I'm just going to throw this question out before you quote the president. It's my standard question. Most Republicans aren't rich. They come up with almost half the amount, sometimes more votes than the Democrats nationwide. They're not rich people. Why do they defend the interests, the economic interests of the elite over and over and over again?
You know,
why?
The frustrating
Why they do that?
I don't know the answer. I do think that they are bowing to this economic theory that if you cut taxes, then you're going to create jobs. That zero sum.
So the guy who makes $1 billion a year pays 15%, and the guy that slobs himself to work, kills himself, is exhausted Friday night, if not Wednesday night or woman. That person's paying 35 or 50% if you count the local taxes.
Right, and
they think that's fair.
But the kicker is the one who's paying 15%, he's getting a benefit, and he's going to take that benefit and he's going to invest it, and he's going to invest it in a global economy.
Yeah, I've seen those benefits. They're in the docks up in Nantucket.
Exactly.
They're in the yachts.
Exactly
So let's take a look. Here's President Obama. He lays down the line. He won't cross the budget. The line he won't cross. I think this is the line in the sand. Many progressives, liberals, if you will, have been waiting for. Let's listen to the president.
I will not support any plan that puts all the burden for closing our deficit on ordinary Americans. And I will veto any bill that changes benefits for those who rely on Medicare but does not raise serious revenues by asking the wealthiest Americans or biggest corporations to pay their fair share.
This is a real change, Bob Shrum. The president apparently, according to the writing of Dana Milbank and others have pointed out in the Post today, the Washington Post, the president was heading down a different path for a while there. He was going to go after Medicare. He was going to go after Social Security. He was going to have higher co-pays for Medicare. He's going to push back the time of retirement for Medicare. Now he says, well, here it is. Let me read it. Here's what Dana Milbank is applauding here. He applauds the president's new tone. He writes, quote, it was refreshing to see the president in the Rose Garden on Monday delivering a speech that for once appealed to the heart rather than the cerebrum or whatever. Let me ask you this, Bob. It's too big a word, but let me ask you. You're chuckling at my lower education, aren't you, Bob? No, you will pay for that. You won't. By the way, it was lower education.
Well, Georgetown and Holy Cross. That's all.
Yeah. Well, let me just thank you. Let me ask you this. He is not only saying I'm going after the people who are undertaxed, who are very wealthy, the people who aren't even paying the rate they're people who work for more, but he's saying I'm not going to go cut Social Security again. I'm not going to raise the retirement age for Medicare again. I'm not going to do those things as long as you guys on the other side don't put some pain, some hit on the rich.
Well, he has proposed, and I think will propose, to do some things on Medicare, but he's never going to propose to cut benefits for people who are on Medicare, and he's not going to propose to raise the retirement age at this point, and I think at any point, frankly. Look, the Republicans had a game plan, and their game plan was to turn this election into a referendum, to do everything they could to ruin the economy as their road back to the White House. And the president just decided this election was going to be a choice. And he's against things like the Ryan plan that would voucherize Medicare, cost seniors $6,500 more a year to get it. He's going to fight to raise taxes on people who can afford to pay a lot more in taxes, haven't paid their fair share for at least 10 years, and he's with the public on those issues. So I think the president is defining the landscape of this election, much as, by the way, Newt Gingrich defined the landscape of the 96 election when he proposed $270 billion in Medicare cuts to finance massive tax cuts for the rich. That was the point when it turned around for Bill Clinton.
And he's taken it to the people, and that's the important part, is he's taken it to these districts. He's in their face about it. He's convincing the constituents, hopefully, that they need to tell the people who they hired that they've got to come around and be reasonable.
Did you do this when you got reelected?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I thought you did. I was watching your campaign. You went back to...
But, there's so many parallels between what's happening now. My unemployment rate in Michigan, the unemployment rate in Michigan was highest in the country. We had lost all of these jobs. I was underwater in the approval ratings. It was like a 28% right track number in Michigan. And yet, when we came out swinging and said this is a choice, then people said she's on my side and he's not. The person I was running against was a billionaire, a business guy, somebody who said he could turn around the economy. Ultimately, people want to believe that you're on their side.
So you started talking like John Dingell, right?
Exactly. Well, John Dingell's got his own way.
Democrat out of Michigan.
Those rascals.
Let's take a look at President Obama criticizing John Boehner directly. These guys play golf together, but they don't agree on how this country should be run. Let's listen.
So the speaker says we can't have it my way or the highway, and then basically says my way or the highway. That's not smart. It's not right. If we're going to meet our responsibilities, we have to do it together.
Well, White House Communications Director Dan Pfeiffer makes clear the days of compromise are over. He's quoted in the New York Times today saying, we were in a position of legislative compromise by necessity. That phase is behind us. Bob Schramm, again, starting with you, this question of a turn in the road. Here we are. It's September 20th. Yesterday was the 19th. I think it will be marked as the time the president decided that we're beyond politics. We're all in this together. Ain't here yet. That there isn't a country that we can find here in Washington where Republicans and Democrats will sit down the way Tip and Reagan did years ago and actually iron out differences. Now you got to take it to the people.
Well, I think you have no choice, because the fact is Republicans want a bad economy next year. They don't want this economy to get better.
How do you know that?
Oh, listen, first of all, they say their highest priority, Mitch McConnell says, is to defeat the president. They then oppose measures in the jobs bill because he's proposed them that they, in fact, have favored in the past, like the payroll tax holiday. They just don't want anything to help this economy. Jennifer Granholm did run a brilliant re-election campaign, and she ran a brilliant re-election campaign because she gave people a choice. She made the choice clear. I think the president right now, the only hope he has of getting any legislation is to put a lot of pressure on these Republicans. Maybe they'll come to their senses and understand the country's going to figure out their game, and then to go into 2012 and present the people with that choice.
Okay. Let's talk about that current thing. The president's going into a very difficult November, December. All the focus on the Republican side, the battle between Perry and Romney. But he's got a debt reduction thing to deal with, a super committee. Could it be possible that he's going to puncture their strategy by saying, okay, you guys are in bed with the rich, looking out for their tax breaks. see how you like it in that bed for a couple of weeks. Is he trying to pressure them maybe to come back and say, okay, we'll deal?
At least his game, his strategic theory, his theory of how you negotiate is a really solid one. He's tried the other stuff. He's not pre-compromising, and that's, I think, a really key thing. The point is you got to come out strong, and you may move, but ultimately
you can
read it all in the book.
I am making a smile, Bob Schrum. It always works. I show the book. There it is. It's a very attractive book. They are with their husband, a very attractive couple there. But the most important thing is your message, which is?
Which is that America's economy has changed. We have to have active government, involved government in partnership with business, not big government, strategic, smart government, because our economic competitors are eating us for lunch.
Former Governor of Michigan, a governor's story by Jennifer Granholm. Thank you very much. Bob Schrum, as always, my friend.